And now moving to Europe, Ukraine succeeded in securing the support of the majority of participants at this weekend's peace summit in Switzerland. Almost 100 nations agreed to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's 10-point peace formula as the main framework for further negotiations. However, the outcome was marred by key Russian-leaning countries such as Saudi Arabia, India, and South Africa for not declaring or supporting the final declaration. Still, President Zelensky declared the conference a success, saying that the independence, territorial integrity, and sovereignty of Ukraine were recognized by all participants at the summit.
Hope that we can achieve results as soon as possible, and it is exactly these and other similar practical steps to restore security and peace that will prove to everyone in the world that the UN Charter can be restored to full effectiveness.
Now, even though the peace summit looked more like another UN General Assembly where different countries talked about the UN Charter and respect for international law, the participants, however, did reach a consensus that war in Ukraine must end with a just and lasting peace. Though not in attendance, Russia's presence certainly loomed large over the summit, particularly in light of Vladimir Putin issuing his own version of a peace proposal just a day before the summit started.
If Kiev and Western capitals reject it in the same way as before, then after all, it is their business. They take political and moral responsibility for continuing the bloodshed. Obviously, the realities on the ground, on the line of contact, will continue to change, not in the favor of the Kiev regime, and the conditions for the start of negotiations will be different.
Now, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris also attended the summit and pledged America's unwavering support for Ukraine by announcing more than $1.5 billion for the country's energy sector and humanitarian aid.
As we look forward to that peace and work toward that, the United States is committed to helping Ukraine rebuild. To that end, today, I am pleased to announce that the United States will provide more than $1.5 billion to address Ukraine's humanitarian and energy needs and to help relieve the suffering of the people of Ukraine.
President Biden's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan also declared the summit a tremendous success. However, summit officials kept details vague in terms of deadlines and plans for the next meetings.
Our support and this peace summit here brings real peace closer. The goal is a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace. This would finally bring an end to the oppression and suffering of the Ukrainian people. This would reaffirm Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Now, it's also important to note the front lines in Ukraine have barely moved since the end of 2022. This despite tens of thousands dead on both sides in relentless trench warfare, the bloodiest fighting in Europe since World War II. President Zelensky insisted that Ukraine would talk to Russia only after Putin withdraws all of his troops. However, Moscow did not in fact rule out future talks with Kyiv, but did say guarantees would be needed to ensure the credibility of any negotiations. Still, while the summit was deemed a welcome pathway to peace, follow-up steps remain murky and unclear. And as always with war, it's the people on both sides that continue to suffer. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.